much, Michael.
Thank you, Jim. I'd just like to thank Jim. He's done an impeccable job. You know, it's calming me down. You know, I got to St George's Road, Northcote, and I thought I'm in the wrong place. My son rang me on the phone, and I got distracted, and I wasn't watching the GPS as to where I was going. So anyway, so thank you. I'm here. I appreciate the opportunity of talking to you today. I want to talk to you about something I'm very interested in, that is holiday DXing. And I'm also going to integrate, just do this talk a little bit differently, but tell you a bit more about me, about my journey in ham radio, or parts of it. And I just wanted to just start off and show you who I am. And that's our family at Christmas time. And we've got two daughters and one daughter and two sons. And the daughter lives in America. She's on Zoom there. So, and Alice and I are very involved in our church. We run a lot of things for marriage courses for people, marriage counselling, etc. And we also run seminars, both Australia and overseas. And one of the reasons I've ended up going overseas on several occasions is actually to present and to talk in churches and schools. So that's our background. I'm blessed with a wonderful wife and three wonderful kids and 3 grandchildren. So it's a great blessing. So this is sort of my pedigree. My grandfather was a ham, and he was the one who excited me about amateur radio. I remember talking to him from a very young age. He had a whole lot of stuff. He actually had parts of Spark transmitters, which I still have, and I've got horn speakers, and a lot of stuff, a lot of books, a lot of Ginsberg books. And he then became the editor of the Listener In, and obviously he was very passionate about amateur radio, but he never got his call back after the First World War. But he used to tell me about the contacts he'd had on Spark. You know, he was an amazing man and really encouraged me to take up ham radio, which I did when I was 17. That's my dad, and he appeared in the Listener In, and he was on the front porch of their home. He never got involved in radio. And there's me operating from Kansas City in 2022. So almost 100 years later, the Goods are still enrolled in ham radio. None of my sons or daughter is interested at all. So it's one of these things. It just hasn't. You either like it or you don't like it. So I'd just like to thank you all for coming today. I'd like to thank, I've got a few friends here I've known for a long time. Ray's sitting up the back. I met him at uni. Now, John Frost is a very interesting person. He used to ring me up and say, look, 6 metres must have been open last night. And I said, how do you know 6 metres was open last night? He said, oh, my parents couldn't watch Channel O. He used to live, two streets away, John? Something like that. So, and Eric, who is sitting over there next to by chance they're sitting together. I don't know how that happened. And I first spoke to Eric on 2 Metres AM in 1969. So I've known some of you for a long time. Obviously, Peter Wolferton, 3ZPA, now 3RV. Spoken to him for many years as well. So, it's a privilege to talk to you. I trust that I can get to know a few more of you over time. So, I'll just go on. I wanted to just give a little bit of background before we get into the talk per se. I just wanted to show you a couple of interesting photos. I'm a member, as Gavin is, a member of a QSL collectors group, and I put a post up there saying, have you got any interesting cards on portable operation? So, he sent me 3, and these are 2 of them. And that's a man with a shoulder held, I guess. I have no idea what's in that box. 7, but he obviously had a call sign, 7 ADF in 1917, probably before the Americans entered the war. So, and then W1 Baker, a very famous 160 metre operator. And he obviously liked mobiling as well. He's got everything from 160 through to 10 metre or to 2 metres, which I think is quite incredible. Including 11 metres. There's quite a lot of activity in 11 metres. I've got some 11 metre amateur cards, DX cards. So it was quite a popular band for some reason. But I just love that photo. I think that one W1 Baker is a great card or great photo. So, and W6AM is a fascinating Don Wallace. I guess you've all heard of Don Wallace. He had those massive rhombics, and he obviously. I just got that card because he's on a yacht. The card is not set, he worked this person in an ARRL QSL party, but obviously the card is based upon he was in a yacht race. But what I loved about it, he says, and I've bolded it up a bit more, worked at W6AM and XZT. The portable has been used in hotels for 12 years and works home on schedule. Now, I have no idea what sort of antenna he would have been using, but he was a very clever guy, so he obviously worked something out. So that's just I just love those cards. I love collecting QSL cards. I did a talk on QSL cards several years ago, and I've got quite a large collection, much to my wife's dismay. I've got a room full of boxes and cards, and I've been told I've got to clean it up. So anyway, we'll see what happens. The other card he sent me, which I thought was interesting, you've heard about the Goodyear blimp. Did you realise the first Goodyear blimp was in the 1930s? So, and you can see the two tiles on there, and there is obviously a flying ship. So I thought that was a quite interesting card. And all the cards in America that have two-letter calls with an X on them are commercial cards, and so that was a commercial card, so it wasn't an amateur card. But I just thought it was interesting that the Goodyear spaceship has been around for some time. Just a couple of photos. I rather like this one, W1GEY. He's worked a G. He said it's the best contact so far. And I just wondered, I have no idea what the antenna is. You can see that little vertical thing over at the edges of the rug. I'm sure it was a lot more than that. So, but I just think it's a nice photo, and obviously the other one's just of a scout camp. But I just like these old photos. I like the history of amateur radio. I think it's a fascinating hobby. And I just like to think that we can appreciate what the people that have gone before us have done. You know, amazing if you think about it. We stand on the shoulders of those who've gone before us. Now, this is Peter Wolford and I were talking about this card yesterday. VK3BDL. That's a 1935. He put the X on the end for some reason, I don't know why. Other people in other countries, I've seen them do it as well when they're portable. I'm sure it was not a recognised call sign, but then 3 Mike Kilo worked him, and you can see there VK5FVX. I think the current 3 Mike Kilo is here, is that right?
Yeah.
Would you like this card?
You did, thank you.
Okay, pleasure.
Thanks very much.
And I want to acknowledge Gavin, who is sitting up there at the back. 4 Echo Victor, before the Willis Island had VK9 call signs. He's a true, well, he was working, you were working, Gavin, you weren't on holidays. But I think that's a lovely card. And I've chatted to Gavin a little bit about that, but you know, I'd love you to tell us about it sometime, Gavin. You know, working on Willis Island. Yeah. You must have worked given a lot of people a new country. Would that be right, Gavin?
I've worked a few years. Yeah.
I know you have. The final card, Peter Lomprier, who I used to know. I mean, when you... Do you know Peter? Yeah, he's a lovely man. Great man.
3ALL.
Yeah, 3ALL, that's right. And obviously at that stage, if you wanted to operate from another location, you had to have another call sign. So he's got 2 call signs, Turak, and probably, I'm guessing, his holiday house in Barwon Heads, I'm only guessing. But, you know, lots changed, hasn't it? Amateur radio has changed. You can be a BMVK3 with a VK2 call sign. There's a gentleman on 6 metres that comes up all the time. Yes, that's right. I thought, why does he do that? The band's not up to VK2, but he hasn't changed his call. Anyway, personally, I think we should change him anyway. Now, when did the expeditions begin? You've heard of the Kontiki expedition. Well, this is the Goode VK3BDL. And this is the first real DX expedition we know of. So you can see there, you know, where the bands are operating, they're asking for cards we'd appreciate a card for each band that we've contacted you on. And that was the first DXpedition, 1948. There was one in Africa after that. I think it was the Valley of the Gods or something it was called. And then there was a plethora of them, which I'm just going to quickly talk about. Danny Veal was an amazing man. This guy, incredible. You know, Yasmin was the name of the boat, it means peace in Japanese. And he worked, I think, 100,000 people, kept paper logs, a lot of them on CW. He went to a multitude of countries. That one's obviously from French Polynesia. And he inspires me. I would love to have that opportunity to do it, but obviously that won't happen. But you can see once again there's 11 metres, 14, 21, 27 and 28. And the interesting thing there is he says, your time, not GMT. It was the time your time. So goodness knows what they mean there exactly. And of course, he went back to becoming a watchmaker, and then the Coldens came in and did the rest is history. You know, they said they had worked half the amateurs in the world at the time. You know, they worked. There's a list of countries they went to. There's probably 60 or 70 countries on the list. It's just amazing, and you can see some of them there. I was a little bit too. I never worked in the YASMI operations. I came on a little bit too late for that, but it's just amazing what they did. And just a couple more. You can see Gus Browning was also very early. He went to many countries. Obviously, he was just using 9.1 mm's call in Nepal, because obviously they couldn't get a license, I imagine. But, and then Lewis Varney was in Papua New Guinea, and they had 9 Lima Victor. And Lewis actually operated for quite a few countries around the world. You can see some are listed on there, and I've got some of his other cards. This one down here is a classic of SM2AGD, who went to a lot of countries around the Pacific. I just love him sitting next to those little rock statues with his rig, trying to look like a statue, I think. But no, it's fascinating. Anyway, this is the last one I want to talk about before we go and talk about other things. Don Miller was a very interesting chap. Brilliant operator. Obviously went to Guam or somewhere in the Guam region. They made a mistake with the call sign KG61D, but that was the call sign he was actually given. But obviously it wasn't meant to be, I'm sure it was meant to be KG6ID. Yeah. Yep. Hero or villain? Yeah, there's a lot. I've got some. You won't want to write those down, but if you go on and search out from he was either liked or despised, and it was said that he didn't make contacts with those people, the tall poppies. He didn't like giving contacts to people who hadn't supported his missions. And then, of course, he went to jail for, 10 years or so, and he was to do with the fact his wife was killed and he was an accessory after the fact. So, as far as I'm concerned, he's a villain. But anyway, you can look at that yourselves. Now, obviously we've got this new licensing system. Now, if you go in there, and I hope you can read that, but they talk about this CEPT amateur licence, which I'll tell you a bit more about in a moment, and the Harmonised Amateur Radio Examination Certificate. And they are things that we have as VK amateurs, and they're quite. The CEPT thing is very good, which I'll explain to you in a moment, and the HAREC is also very useful. And actually on the bottom of your licence, the old licences, they would actually say in French and German, the licence according to the requirements of the European, sorry, I'll get closer to the thing, Conference of Postal and Telecommunications Administration. So we have got the right to use these things. It's a given right. So now, what countries are CEPT countries? And they're all listed there. There's a lot of them, and includes the Vatican. So you could actually go in with a hand job in the Vatican. You could say you could be VK3BDL / Hotel Victor. So there you go. But it's and also all the dependencies. You imagine all the ones that the English have got. Many things, Cayman Islands, all the countries other countries in the Caribbean. So it's it gives a lot of flexibility. Right. And then there's more countries that accept they're not part of Europe, but they endorse the recommendations, and that includes obviously Australia, Canada, etc., and the United States and New Zealand. So if you were to take into account all the countries plus the dependencies of those countries, I think it's about 100 DXing countries you can go to without having to talk to anybody. You just hop off the plane, set up your rig and announce you're there. HAREC. I don't fully understand this, I want to look into it a bit more, but apparently, theoretically, and maybe Peter Young might know more, you could go along and you could ask for a HAREC certificate, and you could go along to another person who is part of that grouping, and you can say, well, here's my certificate from Australia, can you please give me a call sign in that country, and they will do it. Because obviously, theoretically, if you go to a CEPT country, you can only work there for 3 months before you have to stop, theoretically, but that doesn't work that way. So, now, just tell you a little bit about my journey. In 1975, I was sent across the world to work for, I was a stockbroker at the time. I was sent across to London to learn the ropes, and the people that thought it'd be a good experience will go to the centre of world commerce or world stockbroking, so I was sent over there. And prior to that, in 1973, I was involved with the Institute, the Victorian Division, with Peter Williams, Phil Fitzherbert and Russell Kelly. And one night after the meeting, we went out for dinner in Carlton. I could still see us sitting around a table at the back of a restaurant near the staircase. And Peter Williams worked for the Schaefer Pen Company. For some reason, he had the agency for Icon. I have no idea how the Schaefer Pen Company got the agency for Icon, but they did. And over a few reds, we thought it'd be a good idea to start Icon, which we did. And we obviously went on for a long time until we sold it to the staff in the mid-90s. But the interesting thing was, Russell was a very bold man. He said, "Oh, Michael, you're going across to England. Why don't you go by the United States and see if you can get some agencies for us?" So I said, "Okay, Russell, I'll do that." So I get on the plane, go into California, and I go down to Atlas, and I go in Oceanside. And we actually got the agency for Atlas, and I actually bought one from them. I thought, I'll take that with me. I'll be able to operate all around Europe with this, so I took that with me in my baggage. And then I thought, well, we'll try to. I went across to Highgate in where was I? I can't remember where it was now. Anyway, it'll come to me in a minute. And they weren't interested in us being their agent, but it was worth trying. Lincoln, Nebraska, that's right, they were in Lincoln, Nebraska. And Russell, being the very bold person he was, he said, "Go to Collins." I said, "Okay, Russell, I'll go to Collins." So I go to Cedar Rapids, and went and talked to the Collins people. They were not interested in talking to us. Surprise, surprise. But I did see the KM2, WM2 production line and had a look around their factory. So it was very interesting. I enjoyed it. It was fascinating. Anyway, I get to the UK. I speak to the licensing agency. And they said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Goode, your Morse code is only 10 words per minute. Ours is 12, we won't give you a full licence." I said, "Okay." Okay, so I got a equivalent of a Z call, which is G8 at the time. So I became G8 LCI. The interesting thing was, there were certain frequencies, the 2 metre band, you couldn't go on now, because they were aeronautical frequencies. So they're listed down there, which I thought was very interesting. And the other interesting thing was, part of 70 centimetres, you were restricted to 10 watts. But I had a lot of fun operating on 2 metres and 70 centimetres. I met a lot of people, and it was just good. Hams are lovely people. You know, they invited me around for dinner, and I met lots of great people. Ed, one of our committee members, 3BG, came across, and I took him to Dirty Dick's. I remember taking him to Dirty Dick's, so he thought that was a great experience. But the interesting thing was that you didn't get one licence, you had to apply for 2. That was the first one, was a home station licence, but then you had to apply for a mobile licence. So I ended up getting a mobile licence as well. And there's a couple of cards, a couple of Belgian station and a Dutch station that I worked on 2 stations I worked on sideband. So if you wanted to work exotic DX, you have to go a little bit closer to the DX. But I had a lot of fun, worked lots of stations, and just started to get an interest in operating from other countries. So that was the beginning of my journey. I then went across to Belgium to work, and the people over there were a bit more accommodating. I got a full call there. Unfortunately, I was restricted to the operation. I think that from memory, my Atlas 250-215 wasn't working, so I was just restricted to FM. So I only had 2 or 3 contacts in Belgium, but I just, it was a pity, because I would have liked to have exploited that a little bit more. I then went to Geneva, and the Swiss were very kind people as well. They said, you can operate here. So I became Victor Kilo 3 Bravo Delta Leva / Hotel Bravo, and I worked lots of stations. I had a very basic setup in the office. I had some wire running around the office with a tuner, and the best contact I had was the one in Massachusetts. So it was very simplistic stuff. So, but it was fun. And once again, you know, amateurs are great people. Now the interesting thing was, a lot of the time people thought I was VK3BDL / Hotel Victor, and I got a couple of cards in Mr. Hopeful was hoping that I was in the Vatican, which I was not. So I had to write back and give him the sad news I was not in the Vatican, I was in Switzerland. But it was good. My next little adventure was Canada. Sorry about the crummy card. Once again, you had to write and apply. This is all before CEPT. You had to apply to get the licence. And they said, yes, you can operate in British Columbia. So I just had some contacts on 2 metres. It wasn't very fruitful. But it was still, I thought, well, I've got another country I can add to my list. So, now, just a little bit of general stuff. I've done this, oh sorry, I'll move again. Obviously gone through lots of airports over my time, and I just go through how I've dealt with it. Make sure when you have your rig, don't have the microphone with the rig. You don't want people to think you've got a transmitting device, so you pack the microphone in your carry-on, on your normal baggage, and you take the rig with you because you've seen the way they throw around suitcases. You don't want your rig to be in that suitcase. So I've never ever been questioned. I don't know how many airport screenings I've been through. You know, it would be 50 at least, I'd say, a lot. And they never query it. I just put it in with my computer, and they say, that's good, they x-ray it, pick it up at the other end. The problem, though, is they always search. 50% of the time they'll go through my case, the case I've checked in. And because obviously they see the antennas and they see wire, and they probably think it's got a bomb in there, goodness knows what. So I suggest you put a copy of your licence and a sign there saying what the stuff is. The other thing I always take with me is some basic tools. I mean, a multimeter, soldering iron, etc. Screw, the normal sort of stuff you would take, because invariably things are going to break down, and you need to sort it out. The other thing I have is a power supply which has got a link in it which will go either 110 or 240 volts, because obviously around the world they're the 2 major voltages, so I want to make sure wherever I go I'll be able to operate, and that's the way I've got around that. But it's once again, this is before CEPT. This is when I went into New Zealand in 1987. Worked some local stations, a few back here. Very simplistic antennas. I had one of those Yaesu clip-on gutter mount antennas, which was terrible. Don't recommend that at all. This was interesting. You can't get a Thai licence. So what you've got to do is you've got to write in this form. I'm sorry that is so bad. And you write away and you say, look, I would like to operate the club station HS0AC in near Bangkok. So I wrote away, and invariably I got this bit of green paper, and I had no idea why it's so bad. I've got a feeling they only gave me a copy of it rather than the original. But I did manage to go to the station, which is here, and I went there and operated there. I had 3 contacts with Jeff VK3BDL, who was a good friend of mine, on 3 different bands. And then they said, well, why don't we take you out for dinner? And I said, well, that'd be nice. So we went out for dinner. And the first and only time I've ever eaten grasshopper, but it was interesting. It was interesting. But they were lovely people, so I thoroughly enjoyed that. And I think you can still do that. You apply. And there is actually a picture of their shack and their antennas, the current antennas they have. So they've got a very good station now in HS0AC. But it's well worth doing. Now, I'm just going to walk you through the stuff I take when I go away. Remember, you're talking to an accountant. I've got limited technical ability. It's all been learned through experience, the school of hard knocks. So there's my Turlin antenna, and it's brilliant. It breaks into 3 parts. It's very short, it will fit inside a suitcase. It works from 80 metres through to 10 metres. Does not work on 60 metres, unfortunately. And then I've got a Turlin base and spring, and it's brilliant stuff. It's very well made. I really like the stuff. Obviously, there's an IC7000 there. There's a piece of core, which I'll talk to you about in a minute. Very important part of the equipment. Then there is obviously the case that goes between the rig and the antenna, and then there's obviously the lead that goes to the battery, and an SWR bridge. I know modern rigs have got SWR bridges in them, but I like nothing more than to see the little needles going up and down. Gives me a lot of comfort. So I like to have an SWR bridge. But look, The turtle antenna is brilliant. It's a really good antenna. I've had that now for 20 years. It's still it's lasted well. And I've operated in many different places around the world, and it works reliably. The SWR is low. You just have to adjust that little top thing at the top. You get the SWR down to very low levels, and it's a very, very good antenna. Now, I've mutilated a few rental cars. And so the VK3BDL marks on the cars, but of course they're all underneath, so it doesn't matter. So what you do is you very carefully scrape off the paint, so when you're connecting the mount, it connects. Honestly, if you don't do it, it doesn't work, because your ground plane is the boot lid, and hopefully the rest of the car as well, if the hinges on the boot are any good. So, but it generally works well. 80 metres is a bit crummy, I must admit, but all the other bands works exceptionally well. It's really good. So that's how I do it. And I carry a spare Allen key in my wallet that fits those things there, because if I was to lose my Allen keys, I couldn't get the thing off the car when I wanted to return it to the rental company, I would be in trouble. So that's how I've done it. And the other thing is make sure you get a car that's actually got a metal boot, because cars are made with funny stuff these days. Now, the bit of string, I need to talk to you about the bit of cord. This is vital, this is essential, the cord is essential. Because when you're driving along down the freeway, good as this thing is here, it gets loose, because it vibrates and everything, and the last thing you want to do is to fall over the other way and hit another car. I mean, often Alison or my daughter will be driving the car, I'll be sitting in the back seat playing radio, and we might be going along at 120 kilometres an hour, and what it does is, as long as that is stretched across, there's no way it's going to bend over the wrong way. So, it's trivial, but it's very important, because otherwise you're going to be in trouble. Okay. Now, the other little thing I wanted to quickly talk about, obviously, I've got an assortment of different leads that go on different batteries. In this case, it's just a matter of putting them on the box. Make sure that the wire is thick, because I had a problem. I couldn't work out why I wasn't getting the output, or very little output, and I found the voltage drop in the cable was so much, because it's a relatively long run sometimes from the engine to where you're going to be doing it. So if you get thick cable. Now, I know I'm talking to very technically much brighter minds than mine, but that's what I did. Now, the other thing is, you'll see that little clip thing on the left. I was getting RF feedback, and the way I solved the RF feedback problem was to have a clip which went to the cigarette lighter socket and then went to the back of the radio, and it cured the RF feedback. So it works. So I recommend that. It looks pretty basic, but I'm an accountant. It works. Oh, what's happening here? It's on my screen, Jim. It's not here. Did you not?
Cable from the laptop to the screen.
Push the button on the power button off the top.
Power button.
Push the power button on the top of the controller while you're on the sleeve.
No, it's all right. I'll do it. Help. Hey, it came back. You just pointed at the screen, it came back. How did you do that? Okay. And that's the final thing. Now, I was using a tuner for a while. Oh, sorry. Jim said speak in the microphone. My wife tells me that when we're talking, it's called Michael speaking in the microphone. I was using a tuner for a while, but I found it's not necessary, providing you tune the top of the antenna. But still, a tuner will give you a bit of flexibility. You don't have to muck around quite so much. And that was a little LDG tuner, which I've still got, still use sometimes. So it works. The other thing about doing port of operation, you give people new countries. Went across to Norfolk Island in 2003 and worked some people and gave them a new country. Now, Mr. Smith was there as well at the same time. He was not the friendliest person. He didn't really like the fact that I was there for some odd reason.
Jim Smith.
Yeah, it's 9NS. Yeah, 9NS. I was a bit peeved, to be honest. I mean, I'd helped him with antennas and stuff or other things, but he was obviously forgotten who VK3BDL was, and I thought he'd have me over for dinner or something, but no, he didn't. Spoke to him once on the radio, and that was enough for Jim, I think. This was a really good. I really enjoyed this one. If you've never been to Lord Howe Island, can I recommend it? It's one of the nicest places on the planet. And I had a lot of fun there, had quite a number of contacts there, going to a lot of people in new countries, a new country, and it was something I thoroughly enjoyed doing. I met a N6, I can't remember his call now, and he started talking to me. He said, "Oh, I'm very interested in the cricket." I said, "Oh, are you American interested in cricket?" He said, "Oh, I want to see Shane Warne bowl his 700th, take his 700th wicket." I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "I'm a member of the MCC, you know, come along, I'll take you." So he came to Australia, we went to the MCC, went to the MCG, and we saw him take his 100th wicket, or 700th wicket. So he was a lovely guy. So you really build up amazing friendships with people on the air. You know, you really do. And, you know, I thoroughly enjoyed meeting him. Unfortunately, he's passed away. But 9 LDL, I really love that one. And I encourage you to go to Norfolk Island if you've never been there. It's a fantastic place. And there's some cards from Mike Coleman now. So, and an Italian, which he was very, very pleased to work with. He kept on hounding me for a card, which I sent to him. The other thing is, put yourself up on QOZ.com. In other words, you know, you go in there and you put yourself up, you know, VK3HY, all the wonderful details about all the things that Gavin's done. So you put yourself up, no, sorry, Gavin. So, because people want to look up there, they want to see you, who you are, and so that's what you do. If you go to VK9 Lima Delta Lima, I'm still there. Nobody else has obviously used that call sign. The previous one for Norfolk Island 9 November X-ray, others have had it, so Michael Goode is no longer next to that one in QRZ.com. But anyway. This one was interesting. Alison and I were asked to go and speak in Fiji, so we hopped on a plane to speak, and I thought, well, it'd be nice to play some ham radio. So this was the most involved process I've ever been through, subject to one other one which I'll talk about later. They weren't so interested, you know, I'll give you a licence, Mr. Goode, but what are you bringing with you? I said, well, I've got my IC 706. And they said, well, you've got to bring it in the country, you've got to bring it to the country, and you've got to get approval to bring it in, and you've got to prove that you brought it in, you've got to prove that you've taken it out. I have no idea why, but they did. And it took me a while to do that. I had to export it in Australia, go through customs in Australia. This Mr. Goode is exporting this rig. I go to a special counter in Fiji, they stamp the paperwork, and I get the rig in the country. So, and I had quite a number of contacts there, and there's just one card. So, but I think it would be easier now. I'm going back there in September, so we'll give it another go. I think it'll be a lot easier. Alaska's a great place. I mean, I've got a very understanding wife, and we were talking on the way there. I said, oh, look, I've made a mistake with the direction, so I said, you better counsel me on the way over here, I'm feeling a bit broken. So we were sort of talking about things, and she said, oh, well, you know, just remind the people that are listening how gracious I am. I said, yeah, okay, I'll tell people how gracious you are. You know, you always take away the antennas and in the suitcase, but she's very, very supportive. She started to get a little bit concerned about the town in the back garden. I said, look, darling, we just have to plant some more trees in the front of it. So, you know, she's very good. I'm very blessed. Very, very blessed. Jeff Wilson, 3AMK, who some of you will know. He's worked me from, I think, something like 10 different countries. I mean, I'm not going to go through every country because it's a bit repetitive, but just the ones that are a little bit different. Zambia. This was a good one. Once again, very hard to get the licence. I had to write in. I sent them some money, and they wrote back and said, Mr. Goode, we put this money through our US checking device, and it seems to be false. I said, could you please send us some more? So Mr. Goode sends more money. Second time lucky, I get my licence. But I really had a lot of fun with this one, but I don't know whether you remember contacts. You know, this contact forever sticks in my mind. And I've worked a couple of Aussies with pretty crummy signals. And I'm eating breakfast on Call CQ. I think it was our last day there. And so, lo and behold, this signal comes back. It's 5 and 9. I'm sitting on a chair, on the edge of my chair. I can't believe it. And it was Ian, 3 Mike Ocean. Oh.
Say no more.
Say no more?
Say no more.
I mean, look, he's a great guy. I'm good friends with him. But, as I've since become, this is the first time I ever spoke to him. and I can still remember the contact. I still remember I was eating wheat bix. I mean, it was just, I nearly fell off the chair. He is just head and shoulders above everybody else. You don't know, those 4 stackyardis, they're amazing. But you've got to be on the other side of the world to appreciate how good it is. And I've done it a number of times now. He's worked me Iceland, he's worked me from Malaysia, lots of places. 7XX, so just another card from 7XX, he's got a head of good signal. Now, please don't send me to Africa. So the reason we went to Zambia was to preach, and there's Alice and I preaching in Zambia, which was a great experience. Africans aren't very timely people. I think we were supposed to start at 10 o'clock, and I think we got going at about 12 o'clock because they just came in African time, But it was good fun. We enjoyed it. Been to Mauritius a couple of times, once again for ministry, and that's not an easy place to get a licence either. You've got to right away, do it in plenty of time, and then they come back and they give you your call sign. But look, you get it, and operating from Mauritius is lovely. We went to a beach resort at the top, and I just thought I'd go out on the beach and have some contacts. So it was fun. What happened there? I mucked up this. Oh no, that's I haven't. Once again, I worked DNS 5 to 9, of course. And we gave me 5 to 9. Was that a 4? I don't know. Anyway, it was good. And I worked at a lot of stations from Mauritius. It's a lovely place. So a little trivial thing: the native language what's the native language in Mauritius? French. In Parliament, they are obliged to speak English. All of their parliamentary discussions are done in English. So strange. 2010 we went to South Africa, and we hired a car. We drove through Kruger, and I once again had quite a number of contacts, and it was a lot of fun because you see the world. You play ham radio. I found a good way of getting contacts is to log into nets. You come up on a net, and you find out where they are. You're a bit novel. Everybody wants to talk to you, and you make lots of contacts. So Kruger was wonderful. I decided one morning I'd get up early and go for a drive and work some more stuff. I'm not sure I'd do it today in South Africa. I think it's a little less safe. And there's Table Mountain in the background, and once again had some fun. And then we decided we've got to go to the Cape of Good Hope, so we did that. So I thought, well, I've got to get a photo of the Cape of Good Hope, so that's there. And once again, worked some people. I didn't work EN3 a moment from there. But you do get all the photo opportunities, Yeah, so. And then I heard that you could resurrect your old call sign from England, so I went in and got my old G8 LCI call sign back again. It didn't cost me anything. It's like here, no money for licenses. And of course, the interesting thing is, obviously, when you get a G call, it's not just the G call. You get GI, GM, GD, etc., etc. So you can go right around the United Kingdom and just substitute and change the prefix. So that's that's fun. Sorry, this is very basic, but I wanted to talk to Jeff 3AMK while I was there. So I obviously wanted to beef things up a bit, so I had some tape measures and I put on some wire. So I struggled at work Jeff at 5 and 1. And then Keno 3AW came up, and he was about 5 and 5. I thought to myself, how much power is Ken running? But it was probably a bit knowing Ken. Anyway, so that was good. And then obviously if you want to work DX, I can now say I've worked Norway and Italy on 6 metres, but the trouble is it was from England. But anyway, it's fun. Okay, now this is the next very important thing. How do you win over your wife? I said I was going to talk about this. Well, you finally get a nice coat of Morse code red blend. Now, I was in a shop in the US and they were selling this wine. I thought, I've got to get a picture of this. But if you read the CW, my CW is not flash, but it does say red blend. So, Is that right? I hope so. Oh, good. I'm really pleased about it. Right, red blend. Now, if I'm going to do one of these things, I'll talk to my beautiful wife and say, look, what do you want to do this? So she'll book all the tours, and so I make sure that she knows that, I'm very aware she's coming with me. And you fit your operation around the tours and what else she wants to do. I mean, obviously, some people get hooked, don't operate excessively. It's very easy not to. It's very hard not to do that. And make sure she knows that she's more important than your radio.
Yeah.
In other words, happy wife, happy life. But anyway. Okay, this is getting towards the end. This is operating in the US. And I've got an IC705, which I took to a little Zaga amplifier, produces about 70 watts. And it also works on 60 metres. So if you want to work on bands like 60 metres, which you can't do in Australia, you can. And it's fun. I've worked into South Africa, France, Canada, USA, and it's 60 metres is a great band. It's channelized, and you can make the 705 go on the channels. It took me a while to work it out, but you can do it. So, and this is the antenna. I've got a Titan DXing antenna. Brilliant antenna, apart from 80 metres, which is not very good. The one on the left is my original. When I first started doing it, I didn't have anything. I just used my mobile with some radials, and it obviously was not super good, but it worked. But that Titan antenna is excellent. It really works really well, and I've got a little hook, a little mount that bends over. When I go away, when I leave the US, I take it down because obviously in the US you have the snow and all sorts of stuff. Alison said she's only going in the fall or in the spring, so we don't have to worry about the temperatures or the snow. So, and the reason we go to America is our daughter lives there. She's married to an American, so she says she's not coming home, so we've got to go there. That's as it is. You've got to be a good man. Now, this is some contacts. Once again, I worked Ian, and I've also worked Gavin. We had a couple of nice contacts, Gavin. Particularly that W7 contact, that's pretty amazing. Gavin is wanting an inverted V to a verted V dipole, and Michael is in his car on a vertical. We did have the use of the telephone a little bit, didn't we? We cheated a little bit. Gavin, can you try again?
What's this FTA business?
Oh, I'm trying to talk to you about FTA in a minute. So obviously minus 20 dB is pretty weak. I was pretty weak. But we did it, and we did it on, 10, did we do it on 10 mix? Another one anyway. You worked with him W0 as well, so. But that was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed working Gavin down. I worked with a lot of people, 3MH. I worked VK2, 2DO, Chris up in Canberra several times. And you give people the surprise of your life if you know them, and they come up and they see you. They obviously realise who you are, and some of them don't know you're there, so it's good. I thought I'm going to see if I can work at the XCC in 3 months. So I sat down and I did it. I got there to 101 countries in the end. Now what do I do?
Power.
Press the on button.
On button up the top. The green one. Give it time.
Yeah, I'll be patient. Come on.
Little warm up.
Oh, good. Okay. Oh, that helps.
Yes, right. Don't forget it's got valves in it.
Okay. Okay, now this is the thing here. Mr. Brian gave me this. Do you remember this, Gavin? No one on the air. The bands are dead, I tell you, dead. There are no sunspots, and FT8 has ruined ham radio. You should try calling CQ someday. Bit of truth in all that. I mean, people have talked to me about this, and I'm saying to myself, well, I've really got 6 metres is very hard going. I've been on 6 metres for 52 years, and I've worked 55 countries, so about a country a year. In the last year I've probably worked 10 countries. So it gives you an edge that you would not otherwise have. And okay, it's digital. You're not actually you're not actually exchanging quality conversation with them. But let's face it, if you are working JAs on 6 metres, you're probably working 3 or 4 minutes, and you're not having quality conversations with them either. So it's true, isn't it? Yeah. So anyway, just want to finish up on talking to you about my little ploy. I was my sister has a farm in Flinders. This is the most terrible antenna. It's a 5-element yoke. It's pointing down towards the ground. The ladder is so I can turn the antenna. That's my rotator. But we're at 300 feet above sea level, 100 metres above sea level, and straight down the hill is Europe. And we had this opening into Europe in early January, and I started getting decodes from France. I thought, oh, these are phony decodes, they're not real decodes. And I kept on watching, and I'm just going to show you, I don't know whether you can see this screen, but you can see up there there's OE5000, which is Austria, DK5NE of Germany, DK1MAX, and DK8W is at 0. I mean, he was a good signal. I was staggered. I now know what it's like, Gavin, to be the same as our friend 3 Bravo Delta up in the country. No noise. Or 3ZAZ. No noise. Because, why has Stephen worked all these countries? Why has Brian worked all these countries? Their noise floor is so low. It really is low. Sorry about my feedback. I'll walk back again. Just want to see the screen. But look, it was really a lot of fun. And Gavin and I are hoping for more. And the others. And John. Sorry, John. You're hoping for more too. And probably, and obviously,
Me.
Mr. Whitmore. So they're a couple of cards. I got one the German one and one the French one. Why would a French amateur have a cow or whatever that is on his card? I've got no idea. Now, just a couple of things in closing. For those, and I know I talk about 6 metres a lot, but it's really a band I really enjoy. And anybody who's been around for a little while, JA4 Mike Bravo Mike, he was head and shoulders above everybody else. And he used to go portable, and that's a ladder that he has, and that's the antenna up the top. How he turned that antenna around, I've got no idea. Maybe just turned the car around, I don't know, but he had an incredible signal on 6 metres. Amazing signal. He would be there and the band would be closed. There's 3XQ, Robert, who's passed away about 6 months ago. This man tried everything, and this is his portable. He can run and talk on the radio at the same time. He was an amazing man. He's a good friend, unusual, but I loved him because he would go for, he used to run a gun shop. You probably know Rob. And did he have any much technical expertise? No, but he had so much tenacity. He did some amazing things. I'll just close on looking at what he did here. This is his mobile shack. Pretty amazing. Yes. So that's it. Any questions? I encourage you to do it. I really do. I mean, Ray, you could go to Poland and do it. Why not? You see the world, you do some operating, you meet some nice people, and you learn a lot about the world. I mean, look, yes, Craig.
With all of those call signs that you've applied for,
Yep.
over, what would you say, 50 odd years,
Yep.
how much does it cost and how's the price compared to how?
Very nominal, Craig. Not a lot. They don't, maybe $10, $20. They don't charge a lot of money. No, that's not an issue. So, it's very cheap. And I mean, imagine now in Australia, you probably don't pay anything. You want to go get a VK9 call sign. I'm not sure. Anything else? Yes.
The DXCC was digital. Was that all FT8 or did you use other modes?
Actually, I don't know why they say it. I had quite a few sideband contacts as well, but they've given me that one. Because I've only been on digital in the United States for the last time I went, and we've been probably 7 times, so I've been doing mainly sideband before that, so it was a mixture. I like sideband if I can do it. Just the same, yeah. Anything else? Any other questions? Are you stretching the nose, Ray? Yes, you are. I thought you were going to ask a question. Sorry.
That's a bit.
Okay. Thanks very much, everybody.